Alrighty, we will bring the meeting to order, and we'll be looking at approving the agenda. Anything we need to talk about there?
Mr. Chair, the only change is the Brophy Wayside Rest item has been moved under Public Works. Tim will be presenting that today. Other than that, no changes. We're starting with Resolution 25-47.
Thank you, Lene.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you, Tim.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Lene, please.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Alrighty, then we move to approving the draft minutes of May 20th, 2025 regular meeting.
Make a motion, Mr. Chair, to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll second.
And thank you, Shane. Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, Dawn, you're up.
Morning, Tammy.
Good morning. So I'm sure most of you have heard that Tammy is actually retiring here June 25th after 26 years. So we would like to just recognize her as an outstanding employee. So I have a little certificate that I'd like to present to her, and I can read that, and
Yes.
then we'd like to do a picture afterwards, if that's
Okay.
possible.
Sure.
So, Tammy, this certificate of recognition is presented to you with deep appreciation for your outstanding leadership, unwavering commitment, and exceptional service as Assistant Director of the Douglas County Library. For 26 years, you have been a guiding force, enriching lives through knowledge, fostering community, and inspiring those around you. Your contributions have left a lasting legacy. Thank you for your dedication.
Yeah. And the board thanks you too. I mean, that's quite a commitment and an accomplishment, so thank you.
Mr. Chair, can I make a comment?
Yes.
I sit on the board there, and I just want to make a comment, Tammy. Thank you very much, because you make our board good, and you really help Don make her look good. And I appreciate everything you did. For the short time I've been on there, I don't think that library could run any better than you being with it. Thank you.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair, once more again, Tammy, I sat on that for 9 years, and I've seen, you've had to put up with about 3 different or 4 different librarians since you started, so, and have to get them all trained in, and thanks for doing that. I really
And this has
appreciate
been
it.
the best one.
Always, right? They want us to
Always.
go down and have a picture taken.
Easiest one.
The easiest one.
Easiest one. No, she's not so bad. All right, we're gonna couple on each side. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Oh, that's nice. All right. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Dehorn that guy.
Yep. Alrighty, Josh, you're up next.
All right, thank you and good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
So this is a project that you've seen a couple of times. I believe Jason Wires or Todd Langston has come and spoke on it.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
bring her right up close.
Okay. Yes, so Big Stone South to Alexandria, you've seen this project a couple of times. It's been a while though since we've been in front of you. And again, my name is Joshua Humber. I'm the project manager for the project. And we wanted to give you just a brief update specifically focusing on the regulatory aspect because there has been quite a bit of movement and we want to make sure you're informed of what's going on and what's coming. Quick review of which project this is. So Big Stone South to Alexandria is part of a bigger project, BSSA or Big Stone South Alexandria to Big Oaks, and the Alexandria to Big Oaks is a primarily second circuiting project from the existing CapEx line that follows I-94 from the Alexandria substation down to, there's a new substation going down by Cassie's Crossing where you see that, but near the Becker area. And we'll talk a little bit more about how those two fit together. But again, BSSA is co-owned by Otter Tail Power Company and Western Minnesota Municipal Power, represented by Missouri River Energy Services. Next slide, please. What we're looking at is a double circuit capable line with self-weathering structures. So they're going to be average about 150 foot in height. And rather than the galvanized type that we see along the interstate, they will be generally a rust colored. So they're self-weathering rather than galvanized. Any questions on what we're looking at here?
I have a question, Mr.
Yes.
Chair. What's the difference between galvanized and the rust? Are these less expensive or?
There is some savings on that. Galvanizing just takes another step in the process. So,
But does it last longer?
it wouldn't last longer, at least not significantly longer. And these, we expect these to be in service for many, many years. So,
Thank you.
Get the natural rust color because it's got.
and continuing with the regulatory process update. So when we were last in front of you, we had submitted our certificate of need request to the Public Utilities Commission. What that does is it establishes with the commission the need for the project. Once that need is established, then we move on to routing. That certificate of need combined for BSS ABO was approved by the Public Utilities Commission on October 2nd of last year. And that application also included the Alex to Big Oaks route permit, given that most of the route is second circuiting an existing line. With that, we submitted, the co-owners of BSSA submitted a route permit application to the commission shortly thereafter on the 22nd of October. And that set in motion the procedural or proceedings to get to an eventual decision by the Public Utilities Commission on which route will be selected. And a big piece of that process comes with an environmental impact statement. We'll talk a little bit about the elements that go into that. But what we needed to determine is what is the scope of that environmental impact statement. It included all of the route segments that the applicants had put together, but it also afforded the opportunity for the public as well as agencies such as DNR, U.S. Fish and Wildlife to share feedback and make additional routing recommendations. So you'll see in subsequent slides what our original submittal was and how it grew a little bit with public feedback. We also had public scoping, environmental impact scoping meetings throughout the area of impact, one of which was in Alexandria on January 14th. And the commission ultimately issued their decision on what the scope of the EIS will be on the 6th of May. What you see here is the remainder of the procedural schedule as written. And probably the biggest thing for Douglas County Commission to take note of is we're looking at in-person and remote public hearings on the draft EIS September 30th through October 2nd of this year. So we're expecting to see a draft environmental impact statement issued September 4th, and there will be a public comment period both in person and an online one. You can see that goes through October 20th, the close of the public comment period, to comment on the findings of that draft EIS. And then there is a series of additional steps primarily that involve the applicants, any interveners, as well as the commission, that ultimately will lead to a decision by the Public Utilities Commission in April of next year is what we're looking at. And that'll identify the final route. What you see here is endpoint to endpoint Big Stone South Substation to Alexandria. These were the routes that the applicants originally submitted last October. And if we click to the next slide, it should neatly fit in. All of the pink routes were ones that were added through public scoping, through either members of the public or additional agency feedback. Within Douglas County, there's relatively little change. The Big Stone and Swift counties did see quite a few new route additions. So bigger impact from the scoping statement that hit those counties. However, there was at least one on the western route option. You can see, and actually let's go to the next slide. Here's the Douglas County line, and one more slide, please. And there's just that single route potential addition added there. The Public Utilities Commission also in the past 2 weeks has sent out a notification letter to any landowners that are along the route as well as ones that are adjacent to the route but not actually potentially impacted by it. So there, many people in Douglas County have received mailers in the past couple of weeks from the commission. What you see now is just our preliminary schedule where we're at within the proceedings. Again, we've filed a route permit. We're in the procedural schedule process with an intent to get the decision by the commission in April of next year. And I fully expect that we will be back in front of Douglas County to continue to convey information. But pending your questions.
So I guess step 6, go back to that last slide, would you, Lene? Step 6 there, where it says restoration, what goes on there?
That would be post-construction. There will be some disturbances, obviously with moving equipment in and out of the construction area.
Okay.
We will be restoring it to near pre-construction conditions.
And then in the future, like say you have to go through there for inspection or whatever, I mean, what would you do that with, drones, or would you do it in person?
It may be a combination of those things. I can't say that entirely with certainty, but I can look into it too. But it would involve working with the easement holders to make sure that we're not causing disturbances or repairing any disturbances that we do if we go in on the ground.
Okay, and then this picture here where you've got the Highline pole there with the different dimensions on there. I see there's what I call them aviation detectors. Is that going to be done on the whole line, or?
This
I see they're in there, and that's good. I think it's good. I just wanted to know if that was.
typically at the height that we're looking at, we wouldn't have to have. Are you talking the flashing lights?
No, not flashing. They're just like white bulbs and
Hanging on the line.
yeah. And I don't know. I've seen areas where they put them there so birds supposedly can see them, but.
Jerry, I think that's the spacers to keep the lines from hitting.
They just
That
keep-
isn't-
They keep them from hitting
Oh,
each other.
okay. Oh,
There's,
gosh.
they're double lines.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
that's the one thing that was brought up for people that, like the people that spray for crops.
Yep.
That, if they have to jump over that, it's visible for them to see easier than just a line.
Okay.
Okay.
And like you said, there are two conductors there. So that's.
Yeah.
But I'll bring that back.
Okay.
And there are certain areas where we may end up doing avian deflector, not deflectors, but diverters. is what-
Bird, there you go.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
This is on page 9. Can you bring that up, Lene? Okay, so the dark purple line is the planned route. The light purple is still an alternative or not?
At this point, neither is considered a preferred route. When the applicants submitted the route permit application, we submitted it saying each of these two we've determined we think are viable routes.
Okay.
We didn't initially present that. There will be a point where the applicants go back and review and determine, we think that this is probably the best, most constructible or least impactful route. So not, we're in that process right now to try and determine which one will be, but neither is a preferred route. They're both viable options.
So they're both still under consideration then?
Correct.
Okay.
Does that, Mr. Chair, does that have a little bit to do with the environmental study?
Yes, that's a big
That's
piece.
probably gonna have the most to do with it.
And
And then the landowners, of course.
correct. And I realize I didn't say this earlier too. You know, the environmental impact statement is more than natural environment. It is a sum of the human impacts as well as the natural environmental impacts. So it seems like it's almost misnamed a little bit, but
Are the towers from Big Stone coming, are they all the same, like the same size, the 150 foot all the way from Big Stone all the way to Alec and then from Alec to Maple Grove?
they will be generally the tangent, or what we call them tangent structures if they're in a straight line. If you're making a 90-degree turn, it takes a beefier structure,
Yeah.
so it might be,
I
you know,
understand that, yeah.
so they won't be the exact same dimension. That was, you know, that's a typical structure.
But
is what
they're
we-
all gonna be 150 feet in height.
They may somewhere between 150 and I don't know if we would ever touch 200, but
Okay.
you run into, I think, some more
Charlie,
FAA
it says on your
regulations.
average height's 150, so they could
Yeah.
vary.
Average.
Yeah.
You know, so some flexibility there. Okay, any other questions for the, no? Well, I thank you for the information and I guess we know we need electricity.
Well, thank you, commissioners. And Lene, you've got my email. If any further questions come up, please feel free to reach out.
All righty.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Tabitha, you are up next.
Good morning, Commissioners. This morning, I bring some information and proposal requests to you regarding the Fraud Prevention Investigator Grant. So this is a grant that our agency has received for several years. We are coming up on a new cycle. I think 2 board meetings ago, we brought some agency agreements because Douglas County serves as the regional administrative agency for multiple counties: Douglas, Pope, Grant, Stevens, Swift, Traverse, and Wilkin. And so we are the fiscal host for that particular grant with the Department of Children, Youth, and Families to administer that grant within our region. So this morning, I am looking for 2 things. I am looking for board approval of the grant and signatory authority to actually sign that via DocuSign, and then also a resolution to approve those incoming funds. Our allocation is $112,000 per year, starting July 1, 2025. That's a 2-year grant cycle ending June 30, 2027, for a total of $224,000. Our agency contracts with the Douglas County Sheriff's Office, so we work closely with Sheriff Wolverson and his team to administer that. Deputy Dustin Alexander serves in that role currently. Last year, just some 2024 data for you, we had 128 referrals to the Fraud Prevention Investigator. Those provided an opportunity for Deputy Alexander to reach out, provide some education, do a little additional research to see if any of those referrals were in fact looking like there might be fraud involved. Sometimes we have situations where people apply from different states with different addresses to receive benefits. Certainly, fraud has been highlighted on multiple levels within the state and federally. And so this program is an ongoing program for us. It's wonderfully administered. We have a great partnership with the Sheriff's Office. So I'm just looking for approval to sign and receipt of those dollars. I'm happy to answer any questions too, if anybody has them.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I got a question. How does this compare to prior years as far as, we've gotten grants before on this, right?
We have, yes. So this last year, our grant was a little bit higher, and actually it was very difficult for us to expend due to the contract because we just pay for those contract fees with the Sheriff's Office. The year before that, the allocation was the same, and they've rotated in 2-year cycles, so the grant before that. And we have worked with the Sheriff's Office to just supplement those dollars if we needed to go above. So this allocation is a little bit less, and that's not as a result of our work, that's just the allocation.
Okay.
Anybody else? We need an action item here, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the FPI grant contract for 2026 and 2027.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Alrighty.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2547 to accept the grant funds.
Thank you, Shane.
I will second.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Yes. All righty, Lee, you're up next.
Morning, Mr. Chair. Morning, Board.
Morning.
Bring before you a couple action items on some policy changes or updates. First one is on the safety boot reimbursements. So the county does assist with the purchase of boots by reimbursing employees who've purchased a pair of boots for the year, and these have to meet certain safety criteria under guidelines of OSHA. And so the policy was just updated recently. I'd say simplify a few things. There were some procedures that we felt after doing them for about the last year, we could maybe eliminate that were, and still get the job done. So that's what this policy change outlines. And so looking for the board to make an action on accepting that. And the next one is based on, is about the policy regarding step dates at the county. So I think typically in our brain, we think your step date is your anniversary date, which is on the calendar, but in actuality, the county has been tracking the hours the employees work. So for example, if a full-time employee needs to work 2,080 hours a year, the county follows that, and once they've got that many hours in, they get their step date. And normally that coincides with the calendar real nicely. The part that's caused some extra work over the years is people who work less than full-time. Tracking those hours is all manually done and sometimes goes on for years for an individual who maybe works 20 hours a week or 15 hours a week. So our goal on this policy change was to simplify matters and go with more of a traditional anniversary date that lands on the calendar and stays on that date. And I think it'd be less manual work for payroll and HR, and the employee would also know when their date is because it would be acknowledged on the calendar by all people. So looking to make that change and update as well today.
Okay, board's wishes. I just want to bring up before we go anywhere that at our meeting, PIO meeting the other day, we did talk about the safety boot reimbursement. And Shane, maybe you want to chime in here as to the thought of just paying the difference instead of a whole boot.
Yeah, I did bring it up that I know in the private world, instead of buying somebody a pair of boots, they would pay the difference for steel toe boots. So that could be anywhere from $50 to $70 instead of buying them a new pair of boots every year. Because they got to have shoes to come to work no matter what. You can't come back shoeless. So if you went out and bought a pair of boots and you didn't buy the steel toe, they're less expensive than buying one with the steel toe in, so we would pay the difference. So we did talk about that. I said I was going to bring it up today and see what the board thoughts were on that.
Yeah, and the one thing that was brought up to my attention too is that they call it a safety toe now because some of them
Yeah.
are made out of plastic.
You're right.
So anyway, that's something that I guess you should know. All right, thank you.
I know, Lee, Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. You're new in the position, but where are we at with the union situation there with the steel-toed? I know the director's in back. He maybe can fill us in. I don't know.
So this is done outside the contract.
This is outside the contract?
It's been done outside the contract because it was a OSHA guideline that we had realized to better match what guidelines were. We needed to do something in the area of providing this PPE for the employees. So it's similar to other PPE that we are providing that for them to do the job safely. It's not in their contract either.
So Lee, at this time, I mean, right now, the way this is reading, that we are reimbursing for the whole boot right now.
Yeah, we've got a maximum amount of $200. And it's once a year maximum time. Depending how much you use your boots, you know, sometimes you might not make it a year, depending what you do for work. Others would probably last longer than that, honestly. Yeah, that's how it works. And they turn in a receipt, and right now they have to turn in a picture of the boot, and we're getting rid of that because that was extra steps for everybody. We've got a receipt that tells what they bought, so we're using that. There were a couple other changes. Seasonal workers had to turn their boots back in when they were done, and then we had some office staff that were partially out in the field and partially in the office that we were trying to divide up about the boot reimbursement, and we've kind of just removed that. If they're out in the field on the same job sites as some of the other employees, we're just saying they qualify for this boot reimbursement as well.
Yeah, and I don't know how much money you'd want to spend tracking this. I mean, really.
Mr. Chair, I just got one comment.
Yeah.
A work comp claim is going to cost us a lot more than $200 for a boot.
I get it, but at the same time, I mean, they still gotta, I mean, we don't buy shoes for everybody. I mean, it's the difference that I think counts. It's the difference, but that's how I think.
We were just talking about paying the difference for the boots. Everybody has to wear a pair of boots or shoes. They're required to wear them. So what our comment was talking, then what stops Lee from coming in and saying, I want a pair of shoes? What stops Tim or anybody that doesn't work in that part, a pair of shoes?
It depends.
And they get the pair of shoes every year. They don't even have to do anything just to get a new pair of shoes every year.
Lee can probably explain that. You have to be in a certain department to qualify, right?
Yeah, we have it defined in the policy. Right now, it would be the two people in the septic area and land and resource, all the public works employees except for those in the office. Yeah, those are the ones that we have right now for the policy.
So one more comment. So then we're paying for the guys that might not use them maybe once a month, or they can get a new pair of boots every year or once a week.
They would use them less because they're not in the field the whole
Correct.
time, but they're fitting under the same policy of reimbursements. We don't have enough history on this to tell you that that's
Correct.
actually happening. Some people might not be here after 365 days to get the new pair. You know, everybody handles those things differently, but we can certainly give some feedback on what it's looking like. We've done it for about a year now, and if we need to look at a different way of paying that, I think OSHA, I think we are required to help out on this, but I think there's some different models we could look at if we were asked to do so.
Okay, well, Tim, did you have a comment?
So I was just going to provide a little bit of clarification for you. So those positions are determined based off their job safety determination. So where the job safety classification came in and said where they need that, those are the positions that are eligible for the boot reimbursement. So to answer your question about, what if some other department comes in and says, hey, we want that,
Right.
that job safety evaluation is not in their job description, so it wouldn't justify that.
Thank you.
Yep, well said. Thank you, Tim.
Okay. All right, board.
I'll make a motion to update policies on the safety boot reimbursement.
Thank you, Tim.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
Just a question going back to that. Now, was that, we must have had that in place. Is this going for 26 then, or what?
I didn't catch that
We
last
must
part.
have had that in place, or what?
You just did it last year.
Yeah,
We just started this policy. It has not
been
been in
about a year.
place. I think 2024 it might have started, and that was the first year.
So 25, we had it in place, and this is for next year?
Going into this year, it's been in place. Yep,
Okay.
Yep.
All right. All righty. And then we've got, you got something else there?
Yeah, I've got the motion on the anniversary step date.
Mr.
policy
Chair, I'll
change.
make a motion to change it to the update county personnel policy to the step dates that Lee recommended.
Thank you, Shane.
Second.
Thank you, Charlie.
Makes it a lot easier.
Anything else? Lene, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I just want to mention, besides those things, we're just doing some general updates to the county policy, not changing policy, but some of the contact data that's changed, given some staff changes we've made, so we'll be doing some of those too. I probably won't bring each one of those to the board, though. And then the last item I had for action was the courthouse lawn permit for the Calvary Lutheran Church. And they're requesting to use a portion of our courthouse lawn during their vacation Bible school program for some outdoor games. This is going to occur between August 4th and August 7th, typically between the hours of 8 and 11:30. And so our process is that they must fill out a permit, and they've done so. I'm here to get approval for that.
Board's wishes.
I make a motion to approve the courthouse lawn permit to Calvary Lutheran Church.
Thank you, Jeff.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Shane. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Lee. Tim, you're up next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So just a couple of items here for you today. First one is to approve advertising for bids for SAP 021614018. So this is the culvert replacements, centerline culverts on County Road 14 from Miltona city limits out to the Todd County line. We're doing this prior to reconstruction. We're going to regrade the road next summer, that whole stretch. So if approved, we would open bids here in the boardroom July 9th at 1 p.m.
Make a motion to approve advertising for bids for SAP 21-614-018.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Anything else? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item that we have is to approve a final payment for some ditch work. I've got Mike here to tell you a little bit about that, answer whatever questions you have.
Okay, this is for the repair and reestablishment of Branch 3 of Ditch 416. We approved the hire of Midwest Excavation on April 15th. They came in and had a little bit of extra expense because there was a concrete tile buried there that we did not know about. Otherwise, they were right on budget and did a good job.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve final payment on County Ditch 416.
Thank you, Tim.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Anything else? Lene, please.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. And then that last item that I have is approval to hire some external legal counsel regarding the Brophy Wayside Ross property. So this is what we discussed at your work session after the last meeting. We acquired that property. It was more in a turn back from the state when that became County 82. There's just some questions based on the underlying ownership, whether that was acquired through just right-of-way easement or if we actually have the fee title. So we're really just looking for approval to hire an attorney to help us figure that question out.
Well, I think it's a good idea.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve to hire legal counsel Johnson and Burallard
Thank
to
you.
take a look into that.
Thank you, Shane.
Second.
And thank you, Charlie. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank
you very much.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I got a question for Tim. So are you going to follow up with that?
On which part?
This last part to get
Yes.
that? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good morning, Dave.
Good morning. All right. have some items for the board this morning. The first being landscaper excavator licenses. We recommend approval of the licenses listed in your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve the excavator landscaper licenses.
Thank you, Tim.
A second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
motion carries.
The next items are from our Planning Advisory Commission meeting last Tuesday. The first item is a conditional use permit to allow a sign in the rural residential zoning district. This is for the Alex Shooting Park. They received a variance to exceed the sign face size limitation and sign height. So with that, Planning Commission recommended approval of the sign with the 3 conditions in your packet.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use for Alexandria Shooting Park for their sign.
Thank you, Shane. I'll second it. Lene, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
motion carries.
The next item is a conditional use permit to have chickens on a residential property in LeGrand Township. Planning Commission recommended approval with the 2 conditions you see in your packet.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for Robert J. and Mallory M. Lazan with conditions.
Thank you, Tim.
A second.
Thank you, Jeff. I think it's a good idea. Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
motion carries.
Very good. The next item is a preliminary plat. This is a 3-lot plat in Bell River Township. The lots, 2 of them would have access to an existing township road and the 3rd access to County Road 3. Plenty of buildable area on the lots, and there is floodplain and area that includes Long Prairie River. However, as I mentioned, there's room on those lots outside of the floodplain area for septic systems and building. I will mention, because it was notable at our Planning Commission meeting, that one of the neighbors spoke up about their concerns with continued small lot subdivisions out in rural areas of the county, and they felt that it might be beneficial for the county to reconsider our comprehensive plan and for us to limit those types of developments. However, with that input, Planning Commission recommended approval with the 2 conditions that are listed in your packet.
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment. I do think that would be something we should have a discussion on and take a look at it. That's my 2 cents.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Rush a question then? The Clenders, just to the north there, there's lots that have been platted in there, and what size are they?
They're approximately that 2 to 3 acres.
And this is a 23-acre partial going to be divided by 3?
Yeah, these are larger lots. They're not 1-acre lots by any means, so you're looking at 6, 7-acre lots. The neighbor did mention that they appreciated the fact that at least they were larger, but raised some concerns about when we have more rural development, it's more people on the roads and so on and so forth.
So let me
just ask it.
Yeah, so let me say this, is this like going to stay within a family then?
Nope, there are lots, my understanding is there are lots that will be for sale they're platted out with the purpose or potential purpose as residential, but they could be purchased for use as a piece of recreational land along the river, or if someone just wanted to put a storage building out there that met our standards, that would be fine.
Doesn't look like they're gonna touch too much of the river, just the one lot maybe.
Right here, yeah.
No, I know, yeah, all the way back going. I know the area pretty well, but I mean, yeah, I get it, and I was just, that's why I was asking, because I knew when they did the Pine Tree area, and a lot of that alongside the river, the lots were platted at 2 to 5 acre plots, most of them. And that's why I was wondering why they questioned it now, I guess, I don't know. Already too many people out there, they figure, I suppose.
Board's wishes.
I make a motion to approve the plat.
Thank you, Charlie.
I'll second.
Tim, is that you, Tim?
Yep.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Kalina.
Yes.
Rapp.
Yes.
Way.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. The next item that I have is a conditional use permit for a feedlot expansion. This would be to allow 299 animal units on this existing farm feedlot. It's in Evansville Township. Planning Commission looked at it. There's changes that are being made out there. An old barn and manure pit were removed, and a new barn is proposed there, an engineered facility. Inside that facility, there would be space for the animals as well as for manure storage under the roof. There's provisions there for removal of clean runoff off of the roof and yard area, diverting that around the building, as well as for ensuring that water doesn't run through the barn and feed areas. If you go back, keep going, there we go. So there's the barn. Oh, go back one more, right there. So there's the barn. So in there you have 4 animal areas and then the manure stacking, scrape alley. It's a modern facility that they're proposing there that would be easy for the producer to operate. They do have quite a few acres for manure application. And then we noted at the meeting that the watershed there is a natural environment lake to the southeast. However, that facility sits at the watershed divide such that any water that falls in the area around the facility flows to the north and not towards that lake. So with that information, Planning Commission viewing the property, they recommended approval with the 2 conditions in your report.
Thank you. Board's wishes.
I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit for Mark T. and Amanda L. Shores with conditions.
Thank you, Tim. I'll second it.
Mr. Chair, you said that the manure management plan is for indoors.
So in that facility, manure will be collected, scraped. There, again, it's not liquid, so it's not
It's
a
not
dairy.
liquid manure, but it's still an indoor plan. you said.
Right, so bed pack and manure, as they clean those pens, they'll be stored on that stacking slab inside. And then seasonally, that'll be moved out. Most likely, they'll do storage areas, field stockpiles that are approved by our office. Mark Kep approves those stockpile locations. So when they need to, they'll clean out the stacking slab stockpile, but they've got quite a bit of room in that stacking slab.
And can't they delegate some acreage, like, 5 acres, 10 acres, where they can use it during the summer? They don't have, they don't have to store all the manure in there for a whole year.
Right, what they would do is have approved stockpile sites where they'd remove that material, the manure, and it would sit out by where it might be field applied when the crop comes off.
Thank you.
Because our unit count young stock gets closer to 500 than it is at 299.
Yeah, Mark could talk to you more about those
He's
numbers.
wanting to come up here anyway.
Yeah.
I seen him
He's
trying to come
almost
up.
here.
He was, yeah.
But those numbers will,
That's an adult unit, I know.
Yeah.
Young stock, it can almost double.
Yeah, so their plan with this facility, and we didn't restrict this, we never really do, but their plan is to basically start them as backgrounders and finish them. So they would probably have, well, they could have the 299, but realistically, it's probably gonna be under that, just square footage wise, when they get to be
Yep.
1,500 pounds, so.
They gotta get them then.
But if they were just backgrounding them and then selling them as 700, 800, 900 pounders, yeah, they could probably have 400 to 500-ish, but the animal units is gonna be lower. So their plan is to have 200 and some finished steers essentially in there. And the manure inside the pens themselves would mostly stay in there until they haul it out. Most of the area that's scraped and stockpiled is gonna go through the scrape alley into that manure stacking pad. And the pens themselves are typically only cleaned out about twice a year. Their plan with this is to not do any field stockpiling at all. They would just haul directly from, either from the pens or the manure stacking pad twice a year, spring and fall.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks. All right, I think we got her.
Call for the question.
Lene?
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The next item I have is a proposed rezoning. So this is Raleigh and Clara Jane Walsh on property. If you would advance a couple of frames, let's see if we've got that in there. One more. No, it appears it's before the first page. So as a little history, thank you, that's exactly what I'm looking for. In 1998, Walsh came to the county and asked to rezone a fairly large parcel to industrial. There was a lot of discussion, several meetings took place on this, and ultimately the county board approved a rezoning of 6 acres where the current business was located. And that was noted on our zoning map. However, in 1998, our zoning map was a large sheet of paper with colored areas on it. And over time, that zoning map has been transposed onto different maps and ultimately onto our geographic information systems. What we discovered not long ago was that when, through all those transposing of the maps, the area that is located to the west of their operation was noted in our GIS as being zoned 6 acres of commercial. And after looking through the records, that is incorrect. So the area where his business is currently located, 6 acres of that area in 1998 was approved by the county to be rezoned industrial. And so I'll be working with our GIS department and we'll get that corrected. However, at this time, as you can see, the business has grown and expanded beyond that 6 acres. Part of that has to do with sort of how businesses grow and expand, but also our understanding is that it was not clear to the owner exactly where that property line was located. So here we are today, and he would like to basically bring the property to be compliant with our zoning. So 2.24 acres to the east of the 6 acres that was previously rezoned, he would like to see rezoned to industrial. And with that, Planning Commission reviewed and considered that and recommended approval of the rezoning based on the findings and that information they were provided.
Thank you, Dave. Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Shane.
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Rapp.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. The last item I have for you is a request was made by the Pope Douglas Solid Waste Board to raise the solid waste service charge across the county. Previously, it was, I believe it was in 2023, it was raised to be collected. In 2024, it was raised to $130 a parcel. And they're seeking now to requested it be raised for collection in 2026 to $139 per parcel. So I have with me today Steve Ricotta, the Executive Director over at Pope Douglas Solid Waste. And in your packets, I believe you have a report and some information he wants to provide to you. So Steve, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Board. I do have hard copies. I don't know if you guys want them or have them. Awesome. Basically, just a little background to let the whole board know. Obviously, we have some members that sit on the Pope Douglas Solid Waste Board, but the 2024, just as a summary of our annual report, was basically a year of finishing up capital projects. We are in the middle of finishing up about a $29 million total project on the campus, including buildings and new equipment, and would love to offer the whole board a tour of what's going on over there. Basically, we had just finished installation of equipment with the buildings finishing up at the end of last year. Yeah, so there's some pictures in the board report showing some removal of some buildings, some repurposing of buildings, and some larger maintenance projects. And just some background, if some of the commissioners aren't aware exactly, we're about a $12 million operation between revenue and expenses, and about a little over 60 full-time employees employed through our Joint Powers Board. Yeah, I guess just trying to touch base. We have some education and outreach programs reaching out to the communities, showing our recycle center, which opened last Thanksgiving. It's been open through the winter. That is a heated indoor drive-through facility. We use the waste heat from the energy plant to heat that and have snow melt. So when citizens are doing their activities, that they're not tripping and falling. And so that is fully operational. We are just getting equipment running that was installed over the last couple months, and we are kind of fine-tuning and getting that up and running. So I guess that kind of, if there's any questions just on that general report, if you'd like me to cover anything else, I just wanted to share what happened with the facility in 2024.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I got a question. On your environmental center, who designed that entrance and exit on there? Them posts, people, you can see people must have took mirrors off, scraping them posts. I went through there the other day. You can barely make it with a full-size pickup between them two posts.
It's a 9-foot opening, a 10-foot door. Some of the bollards got installed a little tight. So obviously maximum road width is 8'6", and we have had a couple scrapes.
I looked at the post and there's been more than a couple. Every post has marks on it, and I was just wondering, do people turn in any claims when they?
We have not. It's typically when there's a sharp turn, we have had people fold in their mirrors. So it is one thing we're looking at. What happened in other facilities when they make a wider entrance, people tend to accelerate and gun through the opening. So it was one of the suggestions made by our engineer, and it does help. If people think it's a small opening, they stay at a slower speed throughout that opening. And we did copy other similar facilities there. We had hoped the opening to be a little bit larger, but basically one of the bollards got put in a little bit off position. So it's about 4 inches smaller on that exit door than it was designed to be.
Yeah, because I noticed when I went through there, if I brought my 3/4 ton pickup, I couldn't go in there with it with the mirrors out. I'd have to fold my mirrors in.
Sure. Yep. And so yeah, it is a 9-foot wide opening. So 8'6" is road legal. So looking at it, it was what was designed by the architect, and we didn't have a whole lot once we'd started construction to be able to tweak that. That's one thing we are looking at, is if we might need to adjust. It's a fairly big operation, especially with in-floor heat, to move those bollards.
Okay, that's just one complaint I had about it.
Yeah, and Steve, a comment I got is, from as far back as I can remember, I thought that this was supposed to be self-sustaining. In other words, it would generate enough money where we wouldn't have to always raise the rates, because ever since I've been here, they've been raised. And I just think that something's got to be done to fix that. So I mean, I just think that every time you turn around, it's, and some people might think $9 ain't a big deal, but it is kind of a big deal. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, it's a waste to energy facility, and if we could get everybody to recycle like they should, Mr. Chair, I think you're exactly right. We were hoping with, I think, even 40-some years ago when they started it, break even was a good number.
Yeah.
And it, with all the things we're trying to do out at Pope Douglas, between there and the landfill with the mining, and yeah, and things really during COVID, and with, we got trapped in the middle of that construction with all the inflation, so I don't disagree with you, trying to get it as close to break even as possible, but it's not the easiest thing to do.
So just a little bit of follow-up on that, Commissioner. For our facility, that during this facility was budgeted and designed in 2018, 2019. Final budget was submitted when we did for CAP in 2020. Any projects that tried to be constructed from 2020 through 2024, 2025, we've seen in Minnesota with paying prevailing wage, a 1.74 increase from if you'd budgeted in 2020 to actually constructing it. So, and that's where our numbers were. So that was, you know, our expectations and what our plan was. So those are some of the drivers. We did have to bond some additional dollars. So the main purpose of this isn't specifically to support the facility in general. The main areas where this revenue will go is for debt service on our overall bonds, making sure we have some funds for long-term equipment replacement. And then if you remember a few years back, MCIT chose to not insure waste energy facilities. So we went on the private market, and just looking at, if you look at COLA since the last increase, there's been over a 3% increase per year, and we're just trying to deal with that, just wages, just everything else. And so, you know, trying to balance that. We have increased some revenue opportunities with some of these capital projects, but we're not going to see the turnaround in additional revenue by the end of this year and early next year to kind of cover our debt to revenue. So those are the two big drivers, is our insurance and the debt service starting in 2026. And so this would be for 2026. So just letting you know what those drivers are. And on the front page of this annual report is our you know, budget on a $12 million budget. We're typically, you know, a net, you know, plus or minus $100,000. There isn't a lot of additional dollars that are going into you know, our debt service or long-range spending funds.
Just to comment on the building itself. I mean, there is nothing being charged. I mean, it's self-heated, right? We don't. I mean, everything is in-house for heat for the building in the wintertime.
Correct. Yep. So there's just a little bit of electricity to run the glycol pumps. There's obviously, you know, some fans and air conditioning in the summer, but correct. Some of the largest costs typically in a building, and that was also huge on our tipping floor where the large commercial trucks come in. That area is also heated with this waste heat from the power plant. So correct. The operational costs we're trying to stabilize. And I guess a couple items there, just running that facility, some things that kind of came up. We purchased the Cenex building. Currently, that's to build that from scratch would be about an $800,000 building. All in, it's going to cost us about $400,000 for that. So, you know, savings, some savings there, obviously, but we still had to pay the $400,000 that originally wasn't budgeted. That allowed us to refurbish some equipment that we were able to recover from Elk River. We paid scrap value for that equipment. So again, just trying to leverage what we can. We spent about $350,000 on that equipment. It's installed, fully operating now. And when we insured it, its replacement value is over $3 million. So we got a pretty good, you know, 10 cents on the dollar for some operational equipment. So it's not lost on me. I'm trying to be a good steward of county dollars. Just lots of pressures trying to run a waste energy facility, staffing. We're just about at full staffing, which has been the first time since COVID, basically. Just the industry market and trying to pay competitive wages just to get people to take those positions. And those are some of the pressures that have led to this request.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
Our facility there, the waste facility, our ash pit, is that self-sustaining now with the reclamation of all the the metals and stuff? Are we paying, is it paying its own way or not?
It is. So, and that's actually in here in our mining operations. We paid some additional capital. Last year it brought in about 1.2 million in revenue, and it did more than offset its operational costs for running that facility. Correct. As well as it saves us some landfill space. You know, as we harvest that, it delays the time that we would have to add that next cell as well.
Now, is that ash, a lot of places are doing that ash and they're using it for road base. Is this ash, what'd I say? Could they use it for road base or not?
We're doing some testing. It's on a case-by-case basis. Our material is a little bit different because of the way we process the organic fines. It's also brought out to our landfill. And we have done some initial tests. Right now, it's currently not being used for any additional, it's called beneficial reuse. And it is one thing we're looking at. Otter Tail has not done it before in the past. They're doing a test run this year. We're kind of working with them to kind of see what those results are like. So no guarantees. Each facility is a little bit different, but it is something we're looking at if there is a better use for that final ash material.
So what makes it usable for something else? Is it more refined or what?
To be used, so our front end processing to pull the metals out makes it a better product. The problem is there's some liability. You got to make sure, you know, all of the lead, cadmium, anything that might leach out is completely bound. So there's some tests to make sure that it is, and it's typically used as a class 5, a sub-aggregate replacement under roads. So some of our material is tested well. Again, just with all the projects, we've done preliminary tests. It's on our radar, but we haven't had time to focus on this as a major item currently.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Tim, you brought up a real good point. That's the MPCA though controls all that because you're putting it back on the ground or in the ground. And that's why there's so much testing when it comes to the ash and if we can get all the metal out and all the lead, like you said, anything that might
Because
poison.
it would help the county out too.
Help
as far as-
everybody out.
Yeah.
And you know, we can learn a little bit from overseas. They have countries that are zero waste. 'Cause nothing can go. They have no land to put the garbage in anymore. You got to find uses for it.
Okay.
I'd make a motion, we approve resolution number 2548.
All right, thank you, Charlie.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
No.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
No?
Way,
Yes.
motion carries.
All righty. You guys want a break?
Thank you,
Otherwise-
gentlemen.
Yep, thank you, guys. All right, we'll take 5 minutes. Be back.
Tiny took over from them, and then Daryl Sassy said, bullshit, I ain't gonna work back.
Okay, let's bring her back to order here, folks. Vicky, you are going to be up next.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Good morning.
I've got, before, let's see, we'll make sure we get these in the right order. Use of voter funds to purchase additional electronic rosters in prep for 2026 early voting. So I bring that before you. Per 2023 legislation, all Minnesota counties will be required to provide early voting polling place effective starting next year. So that'll be during our absentee voting period. What we've done in the past is had like a direct ballot situation where voters come in the last 18 days of that 18 days of that absentee voting period. Voters could put their ballot into a tabulator versus an envelope. Now the legislature per 2023 has said we have to have basically an operational polling place. You can't just come to our office and do what they've been doing. So we're gonna have to utilize this room and set it up as a big giant polling place with like 20 voting stations and all the ballot styles for all the absentee voters that want to come in and vote in person and feed their ballot into a tabulator instead of going on election day. So to do that, we have to have rosters, and since we use electronic rosters throughout all of our polling places in the county, they are the most efficient way to process that information and upload it into the state the most accurate way possible without manual data entry. So we're gonna need some additional poll pads are called electronic rosters to facilitate that early voting polling place. What I'm proposing is to use LeGrand Township has 6. We'll use their existing ones for our in-house polling place, and then we'll give them these new ones as a test for deploying, because we have to replace all of them probably in 2028 anyway. So this will be a good test to see how this new style will work out in the field. So then I will give LeGrand Township these 6 new ones, so they'll be ahead of the curve with the replacement rate. We'll use their existing 6 for our in-house absentee early voting polling place. Any questions about that?
Mr. Chair, I got a question. So is somebody got to man it when you
Yep.
got them set up in here?
We'll have
So
to
that's going to
have-
be additional cost then too?
Yep, we're gonna have to have additional staff.
They aren't just going to walk in, and then
Yep.
you're going to have certain hours, or is that going to be 8
It's
hours
gotta
a day?
be when we're open.
So you don't have
8
to
to
go into the
4:30.
evening and do overtime or
Nope.
anything like that?
I take that back. Like, there will be Saturdays, the 2 Saturdays before,
Okay.
and there'll be like the Tuesday before, I believe we're open till 7.
I think there's it's Tuesdays or Thursdays, you gotta
Yeah,
stay late.
Tuesday we're open till 7, I think that, and the Monday before we're open till 5, and then the 2 Saturdays we're here, and then the Sunday before the election, we're also open. So that full weekend right before the election, we're open both Saturday and Sunday. So, yeah. And we do have existing funding to pay for this. Every year, since 2023, the state has appropriated what they call voter funds, VOTER funds. I can't remember what the acronym, I probably wrote it in here, what it stands for. So we have the funding, it will come out of those funds to pay for this, so.
Got it.
Okay.
Mr.
board
Chair, I'll
commissioners.
make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Shane.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Lynette,
got-
please.
I got one
Oh, wait,
question.
what a question here.
Now, when they use these electronic, does that send it to a printer to print out a hard copy, or?
So
or
this
how is
isn't
all
their,
tabulated?
this isn't their ballot. This is the roster where you sign in.
Yep.
So we pull up, it contains all the voter records for all the precincts. And so they look them up by last name, first name, pull up the voter record, verify that their information is accurate. Is that still their name, address, and date of birth? If not, they can re-register on the device, or we then check them in where they simply sign the oath and then, yeah, and then they sign just like you do for, when you
Yeah.
pay for something by a credit card, you sign on the little pad.
But then doesn't it print
And then
out
it
a
prints
little?
a slip, a receipt.
Yeah, receipt
Yep.
for what voter number they were.
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay, Lene?
Kalina,
yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, now moving to tax forfeiture, another legislative change. So per Minnesota statute 28201 subdivision 13 and 28202, a Minnesota county board or county auditor, if the auditor has been delegated such authority, has the ability to sell tax forfeited land through an online auction, provided that the notice of the online auction is posted and published not less than 10 days before the auction. In addition to other notice requirements. It is becoming common practice among many Minnesota counties to offer tax forfeited land sales online. The benefits they're seeing are more online bidders and then therefore more competitive bidding and higher sale prices. Since we already have a signed agreement with Public Surplus for online auctions of other county assets such as excess furniture, they are able to immediately help accommodate this for us just by setting up a land sales category for the county, and then we can include our terms and conditions for tax forfeiture online sales, which is attached here. I've spent a lot of time reviewing other counties' online sales terms and agreements, so this is what I'm proposing that we put attached to our online sales. I've talked with Dave Rush and also Stacy Honkamp just to make sure we're not that there's no oversight of any other cross-department things like, oh, I wish we'd have put that in there. So they've had a chance to look at it as well. County attorney has looked at it. Everybody's given their blessing on it. So just kind of bringing it to you for your review and approval that we can begin offering tax forfeited lands through online auctions.
Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
That's a
on
resolution.
Or is it number 2 or 3?
Number 2.
It's number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is action.
Right?
Okay, you're right.
Sorry.
You're right.
Make a motion to approve to authorize online tax forfeited land sales. How's that?
Thank you, Shane.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions?
Just one other one. Still, we have to get it saleable, correct? Is that
Yes, yep.
If there's
Stuff
out there that needs
Yep,
to be
we'd
cleaned
have
up,
to-
we have to clean it up.
Yep, and you're segueing right into my next items.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
All right.
Lene, please.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, now
Okay.
next.
So resolution, the next resolution here is, we've had some prior resolutions on our books. I had a little bit of trouble trying to find them, but I eventually tracked them all down. And since the state legislature has kind of revamped the whole tax forfeiture scene, I thought it'd be good to revisit these resolutions, see if any of these need changing. At minimum, they certainly needed some more clarification, I thought, a little better verbiage. So I went ahead and redesigned them, redrafted them and included all that history in them so that if anybody wants to go back and track where those prior resolutions are, they're all noted in this one. The first one is county board delegation of tax forfeiture authority to the auditor treasurer. Every time there's a newly elected auditor treasurer, we should revisit this resolution, make sure that this agreement is still in place. If that is the new auditor treasurers, if they are in agreement with it, basically, their consent. So the county board can delegate to the county auditor any of its authority, power, or responsibilities under Chapter 282. You can prescribe any conditions for any such delegation to the elected auditor treasurer per their consent. And then this particular resolution is just a carbon copy of what's already in the Department of Revenue's delinquent tax and forfeiture manual. These are the delegations that are most common. However, we could certainly include more. So the delegation I'm proposing is to include the classification of tax forfeited land as conservation or non-conservation property, the determination of the appraised value for the sale of the tax forfeited land, which right now, under the new statutory guidelines, there's not a lot of leeway with that. It pretty much is the market value, or if that doesn't sell for market value, you sell it for the unpaid taxes. And then if that doesn't sell, then you can reappraise it at a lower value if you need to. We can determine the sale, terms of sale, like the ones I just presented to you for the tax forfeited land, including online auctions. Sale of tax forfeited land at a public auction, including the use of online auctions. Initiation of legal proceedings to cancel contracts for the purchase and repurchase of tax forfeited land in default. Authorization to reinstate canceled contracts for the purchase or repurchase of tax forfeited land, and authorization to approve or disapprove repurchase of tax forfeited land to a former owner or other eligible party. So those would be are technically the board's responsibilities and duties, but you can delegate those to me, and any or all the other duties that are listed in the tax forfeiture manual that are, again, very prescribed by statute about how we have to proceed going forward to not have another lawsuit situation that the state was in previously. So unless you want to retain all these responsibilities and have me bring everything to you every time we have to have a property reclassified or reappraised, every time we want to have a sale, whether online or in person, if you want me bringing those all to you. Otherwise, you can delegate those duties to me, and my office will just handle it.
And you're okay with that?
It's what we've been doing, pretty much. I will still bring things to you informationally, but you wouldn't need to take action on it.
Got it. All right.
Mr. Chair, I had a question. That's what I was going to ask you. But you're still going to let us know that you're doing it, just that we don't have to. Okay.
Yep.
I still want to be aware.
I think you should
what's
know.
happening. Yeah, thank
when
you.
What properties are coming up for sale.
Correct.
What's the status, especially if anything out of the ordinary has to happen with tearing down of a building or
someone calls us, we can be informed.
We have lost money on properties before because of cleanups.
I believe it. So.
But then in that informational process, my staff can already be working on getting the next sale set up and not be waiting for these board meetings to happen to delay us in establishing them.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2549, County Board Delegation of Tax Forfeited Authority to the Auditor Treasurer.
Thank you, Tim.
Second.
And thank you, Charlie. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
motion carries.
And that was 2549, correct?
Correct.
Yep, sure I got the right number. The next, is also tax forfeited lands. This one deals with our forfeited lands reserve fund. We have already had in place, this is nothing really new, it's just since I was redoing all the resolutions, I might as well redo this one as well. On May 17th of 2016, by resolution, the county board had established a tax forfeiture reserve account in the amount of $15,000 in 2017. That was raised to $20,000. And then there was, on May 17th of 2016, also that's when the county board had given the auditor treasurer the authority to incur expenditures as necessary up to $5,000 per tax forfeited parcel without having to bring that to the board. If expenses are incurred for over that, then of course we would get board approval per parcel as far as can we exceed, is what we need to do necessary and how far do you want, how much do you want to spend on it. So this is just another continuation of those same guidelines of how much we need to establish in a reserve fund and how much we can spend per parcel. And then that in the 1 through 8 itemized there, it says what we can do with those funds. And that again is straight out of the tax forfeiture manual, word for word.
Mr. Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
So Vicki, did it go to 20,000? You got 15. Did it go up to 20?
So
What were you saying? I
Yeah,
was
May
confused there.
17th of 2016, it was at 15,000. Then in April of 2017, it went to 20,000, and it's going to stay at 20,000. Unless you want to increase it.
No, I just wanted clarification.
Yep.
Jill, did you have a comment?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2550, County Board Delegation of Tax Forfeited Lands Reserve Fund.
Thank you, Shane.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Meyer,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
motion carries.
And then my final resolution is to update our tax forfeiture lands with structure policy to include basically the last resolution you just passed, that what I can spend per parcel, what I can spend it on. We've had this policy in place before. This is just to update that to meet the new statutory guidelines and all the correct references that the other policy was now needed updating because the references were per the old manual, not the new one. So.
Board's wishes.
I make a motion to adopt 2551 to tax forfeiture land with structures policy update.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second.
Thank you, Charlie. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, one thing more, Vicki, and that is Oak Hill Cemetery. Can you contact that person that owns the land around that to come in here and find out what we need to do to get that from him?
The easement?
Yes. 'Cause I told you the guy's name. He told me he bought it from a Mr. Murnack. I'm sure it was Mr. Murnack. And then he said it sounded like he wanted to get his money out of it, that he paid for that easement.
Well, he paid from when Jill and I visited with him, the guy who owns the property adjacent to the cemetery.
Okay.
He's selling his property, or he has sold it,
Okay.
and I think it's closing this month. So in that sale process, just to clear everything up, he did some legal work to establish an easement, because there
okay.
really wasn't
Nothing there.
a recorded easement on it. So he's looking for reimbursement for that, like
Okay.
some.
Well, I'd like to get that settled. I
Yeah,
think
he'll
it-
need to come, I would think, come before the board to request that on
Okay,
his
so
own.
that'll happen anyway then? It will happen?
Yeah, we could
Okay.
certainly reach out to him and say if
All
he's
right.
seeking
yeah, because it-
reimbursement for some of that expense, he needs to come.
Some
before
point in
the board.
time, it's going to happen that we will be needing that access. Okay,
Yeah, I think he's recording the easement either way.
good deal.
It's just he's
All right.
thinking he wants some help with the expenses
Yep.
of
All
that.
right, very good. Thank you. Jill, you are up next.
I just have one item today. Just looking for a motion to approve bills totaling $15,935,045.61. That includes property tax settlement that was paid to the Minnesota Department of Revenue and different school districts throughout Douglas County.
Board's wishes.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve paying the bills.
Thank you, Shane.
I'll second.
And thank you, Tim. Any other questions? Lene, please.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer,
Yeah.
Schmidt,
Yes.
motion carries.
Thank you.
Yeah. All righty, next is our per diems.
I guess I'm up. Okay, on the second, we had planning and zoning viewings. It's been a busy couple of months with planning and zoning, with the viewings and the meetings and stuff. And then on the 5th, did MRC Zoom. I did that from home. Then on the 5th, we had joint county ditch 2 meeting at Public Works. Then the 6th, it was our regular commissioner meeting. The 13th, planning and zoning, and on the 16th, planning and zoning viewing. And on the 19th, I had Lakeland Mental Health and Fergus Falls, they pay mileage and per diem. Then on the 19th, at Glacial Ridge Trail, we had that here at the Historical Society building. And then the 20th is commissioner meeting. And on the 20th, we had Fair Board meeting. And I was just gonna mention, I don't know if I told you guys that that building is not gonna get moved.
Which one is that?
The old Water Patrol building,
Oh,
it's gonna end up, the city will end up owning it.
no kidding.
They're gonna let them use it there just on their grounds, but the city owns that property now.
Okay.
So do we still have any entitlement to that building where we could move it out of there?
Where do you want it?
Well, we could move it up by Public Works for extra storage.
Well, good. For one, it's public anyway, but when Cardinal Lane or whatever has to go through,
It's gonna get taken out of there anyway.
it's in the right, it has to be moved.
Yeah, it has to be
And
moved.
Irregardless of who owns it. And I don't want to tell you what I think about what went on.
Yeah,
And you weren't on there. I'm
I
not
wasn't on
blaming
there.
you. But for the ones that threw us out, and we had to build a new building, and they had all kinds of plans to move it and use it for their headquarters, and now they gave it to the city.
Well, they haven't given it to the city yet, but I asked them about moving it. Well, we can't move it because of them walls inside. Well, those walls can be torn out. They were put in after the building was put up. It
The
still
walls
could be
can be
moved.
taken out to move the mill.
Can be moved.
Yeah, it can be moved. They said they can build one cheaper than they can move it.
I doubt that.
I kind of doubt that.
Yeah, I don't know who's gonna do that for him.
Yeah.
Maybe if we should talk to Tim and see.
No way, no way.
Yeah, but
It's a pretty good building just to be given away, especially the way they went at it.
well, especially if they end up destroying it.
Well, that's what they're not, it's gotta be moved anyway, is what I'm saying.
It's either
When
gotta
it
be
gets to
moved-
the point when that road ends up, and I don't know when that time's coming, because I don't think they'll wanna cut up that parking that bad, do they? To
I
put a
don't-
street in there?
I don't think they would either, but you never know.
Right
Well,
now, the
well,
Ag
yeah.
Association owns it yet.
We'll have
The Ag
to talk about
Association
that.
owns
That's what
it,
he's
yeah.
saying.
Not here, it's not on
At
the
another
agenda.
time.
or
Yeah,
anything.
we'll talk about that. So anyway.
Okay, then
Tim,
I'll keep going. And then on the 21st, we had department head meeting, Shane and I. 27th was MRC Zoom. 28th was Public Works, the coffee meeting. And then the 30th was planning and zoning viewing, and on the 27th, we had a planning and zoning meeting. I forgot to put that up by MRC. I had a per diem for MRC, so I didn't put anything down for planning and zoning but mileage. And that's it.
Thank you, Tim. Charlie?
Yes, on the 5th, I had this, on the Correctional Advisory Board at 8:30 on Monday morning. Same day we had MRC, and the same day we had JD2 at Public Works. 6th Commissioner meeting. 8th Hospital Planning meeting, and Rainbow Rider in the afternoon. 12th Horizon. 13th, we had meeting with the Library Board about their future, and they want to come to the LGC meeting next week. Tell them what they've got in mind. The 14th, we get LGC meeting out of Woodland. Solid waste on the 15th, hospital executive meeting on the 16th. It was on open line on the 19th. Commissioners meeting and work session on the 20th. We had a hospital meeting in the morning at 7 a.m. on the 20th. 22nd, Finance Committee for the hospital. The 23rd, the hospital board. Had coffee with Public Works on the 28th, and we had the building committee for our new Public Works building, or Water Patrol building, Jerry and I. Trying to get that finalized. Leah's working on it. Trying to get it all done. Couple of things yet to finish up.
All righty, thank you, Charlie. And me next, huh? All right, yep. Alrighty, so anyway, on 425, I came to town to sign documents at the Public Works. They needed something signed right away. On 5.5, MRC was Zoom. 5.6, regular meeting. 5.12, Horizon. 5.13, Planning Board meeting. That was where we discussed that meeting about those storage units on 42. 5.15, Land Records. 5.15, Sauk River Watershed, and 5.15, PIO. 5.20, regular meeting. 5.20, Sauk River Watershed. 5.22, Finance at the hospital. And 5.23, our regular hospital meeting. And 5.29, we had a building committee meeting. That takes care of mine. Shane?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. On 5.1, Prime West meeting, they pay. 5.5, supporting Hands Nurse Family Practitioners was, that was a bi-monthly, that was down in Olivia. I drove down there for that. 5.6, County Board meeting. 5.8, Alamere Health Subcommittee. 5.12 was Horizon Health monthly meeting. 5.13 was the library and worked on some new library updates that day. 5.15, Pope Douglas meeting. 5.15 was PIO meeting. 5.15, library meeting that day. 5.16 was Alamere Health Executive Committee. 5.20 was Alamere Health for the subcommittee. 5.20 was County Board meeting. 5.20 was Viking Library. 5.21 was Department Head meeting with Tim. 5.23, Alamere Health monthly meeting. May 27th, Charlie and I met with District 206 to discuss some items that we're working on with Pope Douglas. I see you didn't have it on there, Charlie. But we both went to that. I don't know if we were gonna do it here or do we do it through Pope Douglas? That would be I don't know. And then on 5.29 was our Pope Douglas Solid Waste Tri-County Waste meeting. And I don't think you had that on there either, Charlie. On yours. But they paid that anyways.
Yeah, the 27th, I forgot that.
5.1 is the National Day of Prayer Breakfast, and I was invited to pray over our government. 5.2, Pope and Douglas Food and Lodging Pool held at the Douglas County Service Center. MRC meeting, virtual at the county boardroom. Regular board meeting on 5.6. 5.8, Rainbow Rider monthly board meeting. 5.12, Soil and Water Conservation, the monthly board meeting. 5.12, virtual community stakeholder conversation via Zoom with District 206 at home. 5.12, Ernest Township meeting, public relations. 5.13, Moe Township meeting, public relations. 5.14, AMC virtual training at home, dealing with difficult conversation with your constituent. 5.12, ribbon cutting ceremony at Quality Equipment, invited by the Alex Chamber. 5.16, mental health walk sponsored by the Viking Land Community Support and walked along with Julie Anderson. 5.20, the county board meeting. 5.20, work session after the board meeting. Evansville Township meeting on the 5.20, public relations. 5.21, reason for mental health meeting. They pay the per diem and mileage. 5.23, Alamere Hospital Board meeting, monthly board meeting. 5.27, MRC meeting, legislative update via Zoom in the county boardroom. And then 5.27, West Central Community Action, monthly board meeting, they pay mileage.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Board's wishes.
Need to discuss about Charlie and ours at
All right.
the District 206
All right.
meeting. I don't want to make that motion.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. Charlie was there too.
Okay. Well, I can say one thing, meeting with the 206, I think is a good idea.
Well, we got to get that taken care of. That was.
I think that's a good idea.
And then be it taking care of Jeff at the National Day of Prayer. Jerry and I attended and need to get up and
I
took
was-
care of that for us. So it was nice you
And I
could do
want to
that.
say that, Mr. Chair and Mr. Smith, that you guys should be compensated for the mileage that you were there. And so I put that in there if you want to.
I don't need no mileage. I only live a mile from there, so I'm fine with it.
I mean,
That's up to Jerry on
Yeah,
his.
I'm gonna just, because I stayed in town anyway,
okay.
so I'm
Yeah,
good.
and I had other stuff that day.
I'm good with it, but that's fine. You did a good job. I was there. I saw it. So,
And the mental health walk.
and the health walk, again, I could not make it. I was glad you did. So,
Yeah, and Julie was with me and
Vicky,
That's what I just asked too.
well, what do you think,
Good
guys?
question. I suppose it should be Pope Douglas.
That's your question.
We'll have to turn it into them at our next meeting. Is that what you?
Yeah, we can that way. You write it down.
Okay, I got it.
All right. Thank you, Vicky. Any other questions we got here?
I'll make a motion to approve the per diems.
a second.
Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Tim. 1A, please.
Wade,
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff.
Oh, Jeff.
Mayor,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Kalina,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
motion carries.
All righty. Thank you.
Before we, Mr. Chair, Rick, should we get, what about, I was questioning, I don't know why I didn't think of it before, the food pool and lodging, shouldn't that come out of Horizon?
Yeah.
That, they collect the fees. Do we get any of that? Okay, well, I can just bring it up. I think
Food,
that's-
fuel, and lodging.
You're-
Me and Jeff are.
You and Jeff are on there now. I was just, I thought about that years back. I said, hell, I pay all my fees to Horizon.
Right.
So, it's like, yeah, all right, we can check.
All righty. Well, that brings us to items from the floor. Anybody have items from the floor? If they don't, I'm going to take time for a couple. And one is, for some reason, our lakes are getting poisoned with this weed spray, whatever you want to call it, and it is not killing just the weeds that they're after. It's also killing our native weeds. It's getting at our celery and our native vegetation out there. And they're going, sounds like directly from a lake association to getting it done. And I just think that we are being naive if we think that putting that stuff in there to kill this weed, it's not just killing that weed. And it's killing our celery and our native weeds. And I'm getting that feedback from the locals that live on the lake. So I'm just saying, I think that we are being naive if we think that we're not doing something bad. And we do everything we can to try to keep our lakes healthy. And I do not see how that is healthy. I don't see it. But other than that, and by the way, these guys that do this, their name is Holy Diver Aquatic Weed Removal. That's the name.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm part of the AIS committee, and so, and I did a little bit of research on that, and so I agree with you. We need to be careful. Just because we have grant money available, is it the right way to do it? And the question is, what is the other alternative?
Well, the other is to mow it. They got
Right.
machines that'll do it without, and I know it doesn't get away with it, but at least, I mean, this idea, we're doing everything we can. I mean, we try to keep our lakes healthy, but yet we'll turn around and do something like this, just like dumping ALSD into our lakes. I mean, I know it's the solution and they do the best they can, but it's not doing what it needs to do. We're still having salt is a big item that is still going into our lakes, and we're doing it one after the other. And that's why I tell you too, and that is that all new construction be saltless water softeners if they're hooked up to ALSD.
Yeah,
So-
because that PFAS is
Yeah.
what they can't get rid of.
Well, the PFAS, they did find a product now that will supposedly break down PFAS. I don't know what it cost,
Well,
but they said it did.
that's the one thing he said he couldn't get rid of,
Yeah.
at ALASD, so we dumped that back into the.
I know it. I know it. It's not right.
So I think we'll need to take a look at it before we move forward next time.
Okay?
What can we do to protect our lakes? and our
Absolutely.
land?
Yeah, something's got to be done different, I think. Okay.
Mr. Chair, maybe we should put that on in the work session.
I'm all for it. I'm all for it. All righty. Anything else? Otherwise.
Chair, I got a question.
Yes.
Say, Lee, at our last meeting, we took care of hiring you and Lene, right? Can we get, that hasn't happened yet?
Just my position, I've got 2 more to bring to you, and I'm
Okay.
planning on those on next board meeting.
Got it. That's what I was focused. I'd like to get rid of that intern on her intern clerk. Okay. That's what I was asking. I knew it was coming. I just, thank you. Perfect. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Shane.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Lene, please.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Selena,
Yes.
Rapp,
Yes.
Way,
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.